All right, everybody, welcome back. Another episode of First and Nole here from the Osceola. Florida State wins game one against Duquesne 47-7. I'm Ariya, Massoudi, the director of creative media at the Osceola. Joined next to me here is Curt Weiler, the senior writer for the Osceola, and something we've been excited about and been working on for a couple weeks is adding a third member to our panel to kind of have a different perspective. And my good buddy Roberto Aguayo decided to hop on with us. Thought it would be a good opportunity for him. We know that you guys remember him from his days at FSU, the former Groza Award winner and a high NFL draft pick, played in the NFL for a couple of seasons, now pursuing broadcast media. Roberto, I just laid out the red carpet for you, but I want people to hear it from your perspective. Why are you excited to join our show?
Oh, what's up, guys? No, I'm excited to join the show. I'm excited to talk Seminole football and a lot of other fun things on the pod. I just like giving my 2 cents to things and giving you guys insight on some things that, at least from a player's perspective, the little things that go behind the scenes or, that I think for people will find interesting and, just talk ball and talk life, talk anything.
Did I give you the proper hype man introduction?
Oh, yeah.
Anything you need to add? Anything you missed?
Give me a Yelp review. Is that a good Yelp review?
That was great. Look, that was great.
I know Curt covered you back in when you were playing ball, and we got to know each other a little bit, and getting to work with each other now on the ACC network side of things with the football. And Berto, though, like for people who don't know what you've been up to since your football career, you've started to do some academy work. Update people on your life.
Oh, definitely. Right now I wear a lot of hats. So obviously doing the broadcasting stuff and doing the pro day, which was fun, and look forward to what I'm going to do this fall up there in Tallahassee with you guys. And so do that. I work in wealth management for JP Morgan. So that's my main job. And then I run my own academy alongside my brother. So we train specialists, and the demand is getting higher, but I love it. And I love being able to pass on that knowledge to the next generation. And really what I wanted to have when I was, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, where if I would have known the stuff that I know now, I mean, who knows where I would be. And it's just cool seeing, passing that on to the next generation, and then seeing them succeed on the field. When they look at you with a face of like, oh my gosh, I hit it straight and far. It's fun. So love doing that. I also coach. I'm a consultant for our local high school here, Benjamin, where our starting quarterback went to school. So we're heading into our third game of the season this Friday. So preparing for that. But yeah, so that's where I'm at right now, living here in Jupiter, Florida, Palm Beach Gardens area. So, excited for this season. And we got a W, and now we got LSU in front of us. So it's going to be fun.
You're joining us at quite a time. You talked about LSU, and no doubt that's the, I don't know. I think we kind of need to start any conversation talking about this past week's game to say, I mean, I think Coach Dorvell kind of hit on the head today when he said, I thought we were going to dominate, and we dominated. It's kind of what you expected to do for quite a few reasons. And I guess my thing, I kind of talked to you about, I mean, what do you think that can do? I know Brian Kelly talked about today, he's like, they have the advantage of having played a game. We have the advantage of kind of the unknown. I know they're not announcing their starting quarterback. Which of those do you think is a bigger deal?
Honestly, I think for our side, I think it was good that we played a game already. I think they're trying to do as much as they can, and being secretive about who their starting quarterback is. And honestly, at first I'm like, well, that, like, come on, man, like, you're not going to announce a starting quarterback, like, what are we doing here? But
Brian Kelly, dog.
Texas isn't doing a depth chart. Texas has no depth chart. Isn't going to have one all year, apparently.
All right. See, now what like I mean, it makes it difficult for a coach on the opposite side, and especially, for a D coordinator, because you gotta prepare for all, both quarterbacks or all three quarterbacks. But at the end of the day, it just shows. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, what I read on them, that they're both similar quarterbacks, similar style quarterbacks. So it's not like they got to prepare for a passing pocket passer and then a running quarterback. So I guess that helps.
I mean, how big was it though, Roberto, do you think, like going back to your like playing days, to have a week 0? I don't think we had that with Jimbo, did we?
No, we never had that. And it was weird because when I saw the schedule and I'm like, wait, there's no other game. Like we're the only one, one of the bigger games. And yeah, I think it's kind of like and that's why I told the what's it called? The over under, like the spread was 41. And I was like, bet the under, because this is going to be a game of putting a lot of the guys out there, seeing what they can do, get the cobwebs, out, and really it's like a preseason game in the NFL, really. And I think it's a huge advantage for us. And we look great. I mean, we look great. 3 100-yard rushers. That's the first time ever in our school history. So to see that and see how well the O-line played, no penalties, no like real, a lot of penalties on the field. That's really what I wanted to see. And they played great. They look like a different team. They look more unified, which is exciting as a spectator.
Roberto, I got to ask you, is it offensive to you? First touchdown of the year, they don't even go for the extra point.
Well, yeah, I was like, what are we doing here? But honestly, in this game, you want to practice all those things. It's kind of honestly like almost a scrimmage, and really being able to call like plays, that you don't usually call in games, just to see how your guys operate, and maybe putting stuff on film where now it's like, okay, they went for 2. Now we gotta work on that, right? Where the other team now has to prepare for, not the usual, stuff, but, I believe in Norvell, and I think it was pretty cool. And that was the time to get it out. You know what I mean?
I almost feel like they threw that out there, and Curt, I mean, you can agree or disagree, but Berto, like you almost throw that out there to make Notre Dame have to prepare for it, right?
LSU.
Like to Notre Dame, Brian Kelly and LSU.
His family.
His family, exactly.
His family.
Excuse me. I mean, every time I think of Brian Kelly, it's very hard for my brain to disassociate him with Notre Dame. Like it's very hard to move him from that to LSU. But point being, guys, like they had to throw something on film, right? Like just to make those guys have to spend, even if it's half an hour more, on preparing for that in special teams, right?
Exactly. As a high school coach, those are the things you look at, right? You watch the film, and anything they put on film, you got to prepare for, because if they run that again and your defense isn't prepared and they're out there like, oh, who has who, that's when you look stupid on TV. Like, oh, our defense wasn't even prepared. Like, and they had that look last game. So as a coach, those are the things you prepare for. And yeah, you're going to be staying and watching film a little bit longer, and, having to prepare for different formations, different alignments. It's more of a headache, but hey, you put that out there to spook the other teams, and whether you run it or don't run it, it's more they got to prepare for.
It's funny. They showed that, but I feel like they didn't really show much of anything else. I feel like they kept it pretty vanilla with the run schemes. I feel like they kept it pretty vanilla. I mean, the one advantage, I guess another potential advantage LSU could have if you had to show too much. I feel like a team like UNC that played a tougher game against FAMU really gave them a bit more of a test. I feel like the one advantage is they might see things, but FSU was definitely intent on, it seemed like, giving nothing away.
Well, I think you're right in that sense, where they gave looks where they needed to, and they kept from giving looks in other areas. So I think that helps, right? That it kind of, honestly, watching the game, I was kind of like, well, this is kind of just boring, right? It's just like a run, run here, run there. But at the end of the day, if you can get the W and win, without showing a lot, especially for LSU, because that's going to be a big game for us, and we need to win that game because that'll propel us to, Louisville after that, which that's another big game. But as long as we can get through those two games and, maybe win, and watching us play this weekend, I think there's higher hopes, higher expectations for these next upcoming two games. So I think strategically, Coach Norvell played it right. So,
hey, you say boring. After last year, Jacksonville State, I will take boring.
We'll take that.
Right? Like, when's the last time, Berto, that we could watch a broadcast and you could talk about nuggets being wings or?
Oh my gosh.
It was 10 minutes of that. And I was like, I'm not even mad because one, yes, boneless wings are glorified chicken nuggets. That I think we're going to have to all agree on that. Or Berto, if you don't, you're off the show. Yeah. But two, I was thinking, when's the last time we could have this where the game doesn't matter anymore? And it's been a minute, right? Louisiana Monroe was too tight. Jacksonville State was devastating, right? And Samford was too tight. What was going through your mind? You're in the fourth quarter. Yeah. Berto, were you look, we have a third string quarterback in the game.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was good. We had, was it Rodemaker? No.
And Duffy.
Yeah. And Duffy. Yeah. IMG, so that's good. All the guys got looks. What it reminded me when they were talking about the wings. Remember that game? I don't know if it was 13 or 14. I think it was 13, where PJ Williams and T Brooks were playing Hangman and
You're 100% right.
Bro, the broadcasters were playing Hangman.
You're right. They got those boys playing freaking childhood games, what you used to do in the backyard because you were bored.
Exactly. Yeah,
you weren't a part of that.
Right. Yeah,
you weren't a part of that game. You didn't give them the word that round.
No, I was there. I don't know. I was just on the sideline, all right. Well, no, it's because probably I was gonna go kick my 7th extra point of the game.
Yeah, they kept you busy, especially in 13. You're lying.
Yeah.
Look,
but yeah,
I like that you mentioned too, Berto, the three-headed monster, because I think that's the main storyline. I think that came out of that weekend from that game is you'd been hearing about Ward and Benson and Toafili in spurts right throughout camp. I think all three of them showed you that they have the goods to each be a primary back. The fact that you have three, I think that does worlds and wonders for you as you move forward, not just LSU, but beyond that as well this season.
Oh yeah. I can't remember the last time we saw three dominant backs like that in the game. Last year, the Corbin and was it Ward? Yeah.
Yeah. And then a little Toafili, but Toafili dealt with some injury stuff. He wasn't really himself.
They all look healthy. They all look, they don't hesitate. Well, I actually like, I can't remember who it is, but his patience, where he doesn't hit the hole as hard, and he's patient, seeing the read, seeing the play develop, and then he finds a hole and he hits it. I like that.
I think I think that's Trayshawn. I think Trey Benson compared him. Trey Benson compared him after the game. As another media member kind of was smart to kind of be like, can you all talk about each other's games? I think Trey Benson compared him to Le'Veon Bell. That's kind of what he said.
Exactly. Like Le'Veon Bell. Yeah. And no, they all have their own tendencies and they're different in their style of running. It's a three-headed monster, and I know defenses are going to be. It's going to be hard to beat that. And then when you got, what do we have? 4 transfer wide receivers. We look good at wide receiver. If we can, each the running game help out the passing game help out the running game. We have so many areas that we can attack a defense where a defense is like, oh my gosh, we got to stop the run. And then all of a sudden, we start throwing the ball. They're like, oh my gosh, now we got to stop the pass. It's going to be hard on defenses heading into the season if we keep playing the way we played on Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, it's been a minute since the receiving corps has had the types of pieces that all complement each other the way that I think this group can, right? Berto, when you played and you have Rashad Green and Kenny Shaw, who all complement Kelvin Benjamin, and they all do something a little bit different. And yeah, Nick O'Leary, his ability to kind of create space for himself in a zone defense, it was like all of them had certain skill sets and it perfectly blended in a pot together. And I don't know that we've had that level of chemistry and tangibility in the receiving core. Did you guys kind of get that sense? I mean, the way Pittman does one thing well, the way that Wilson can stretch a defense, the way Portier was able to help a couple bad passes that were high that he kind of saved with his ability to go and make grabs. But like, did you guys take that same away, the chemistry of the wide receivers?
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, like you talked about, I mean, with Micah Pittman and what he does, he's the guy you want to get him the ball in space. With how Duquesne can take the top off with that speed. With Johnny Wilson, the 6'7", his size, the red zone threat that I think he can be. Hopefully he's available this weekend. I guess that's still a little bit up in the air, although it sounded like a promising update from Mike Norvell today. Yeah, I think, I mean, we look at it again. I think if that game showed us anything, even if it was an FCS opponent and a program that only has 45 scholarship players, it's that the transfer portal hit rate is very high again. I mean, it's funny, Roberto. I'm interested in your thoughts. It's something that players transferred then, but the transfer portal wasn't what it was. That's blown up in the less than a decade since you left college football. And I mean, if Mike Norvell is long-term successful here, it will be because of how well he's done in the portal.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the last 2 years you can see how well he's done with the transfer portal. And I mean, it's tricky sometimes, you know, and some players leave thinking they're going to go to a better school and they don't. And, you know, the way he's recruited, especially in the transfer portal, there's ways where it can hurt a team and the guys aren't, you know, together for as long. I remember Fitzgerald telling me that, 20 guys transferred and we got 20 new guys. So like, you know, every year there's going to be people that leave. So the camaraderie won't be as high, or as tight. But if Norvell can recruit, you know, team first guys, you know, camaraderie guys, locker room guys, glue guys, but at the same time, they're high caliber, you know, players. I mean, you got yourself every year. It's almost like free agency in the NFL. You know, you there's going to be guys recruiting scouting other teams to see, you know, well, if this guy transfers, we can bring him over here. And I mean, there's a lot of guys that are in the transfer portal. So every year now that it started, so they have their pickings and it's about, you know, getting this program back on top so we can get those guys to transfer, you know, to us and kind of get that ball rolling, which I felt like it you know, COVID hurt us. COVID hurt Norvell coming into his first season. You know, I spoke with him and he mentioned that, you know, that was tough with everything that was going on and, you know, being able to, you know, get your lifts in, get the film work in, but at the same time you had to be on Zoom and it wasn't, you know, everyone had to adapt and, you know, obviously it was the same for everyone, but as a coach coming in your first year, that's tough when you can't be face to face with the guys. You can't be in the same room with the guys. So to see where it went from then, you know, COVID year and now and seeing this first game, I know all FSU fans were anticipating this and, you know, and he knows he has that expectation high and I've always believed in him. And, you know, from what I've seen on the team, I mean, they did great. They did great.
Yeah. And I think, you know, we have to put this out there that they played Duquesne, right? Like we don't want to like have definitive statements after a game against an FCS school. Yeah. Florida State took care of business the way it was supposed to for the first time in a while. Let that be a step forward in the maturation of this program. So I'll ask you this, Berto. I think like I've been interested about it since I knew you were coming on this pod and joining us as a host. When you came to Florida State, they were still on the upswing, right? Like it hadn't full on become Florida State, the dynasty under Jimbo. When was like the turning point for you and that you saw in that program where you started to say, all right, well, this program is starting to take that next step?
So I went in 2012, EJ was starting. But I remember, you know, our class, right? That 2012 class, you know, me, Jameis, who else was coming in that year? Darby, PJ, right? We all knew like, we were a good class. We were a highly ranked class coming in. And then you had guys like Telvin Smith, Carlos Williams coming in that year before, Christian Jones, the guys that were already changing the culture. Rashad Green was there before us. Those guys were changing the culture. And I think us, that year in 2020, I redshirted, Jameis redshirted, a couple other guys redshirted, but, we're able, and some of the guys were able to see playing time that first year for a little bit, coming in to replace, Xavier Rhodes or a LaMarcus Joyner, right? So I think we didn't know it then, but that was helping us coming into that next year. And it wasn't really, coming into that 13 season, it was, Coach Fisher wasn't like, oh, we're going to win the national championship. Like national championship's the goal. It never was that, right? We were coming off of that 2012 Orange Bowl victory. I remember when we were in North Carolina and we lost 16-17 to Mike Glennon, them coming back and beating us last second. I think that loss was that first spark that propelled us, where we could have definitely won that game. And then it wasn't, the off season was great. We worked hard. Spring ball was great, but everyone did their job. There wasn't an expectation of like, we got to be perfect. We got to do this. Everyone did their job. And it wasn't until Clemson of that 2013 year where all of us were like, we might win the whole thing. So after that, where I think we kind of surprised our own selves, we're like, all right, is Clemson like this bad or are we just that good? But I mean, we were that good. Then it just kept going. We'd be blowing out teams, and we were just out there having fun. And it wasn't like, all right, we got to go win the night. No, it's just like go out there every week by week. The next opponent, we're not worried about, Florida when we're in the middle of the season. Like Florida will come. Like we gotta face the opponent that's in front of us right now. And it turned out to be, a magical season.
That Clemson game, how I knew y'all were winning the national title that year? James Wilder walked out in a crop top and an 18-pack showing up on his stomach. I was like, this man, the confidence to show up with only like half his stomach showing. You show up in a crop top as a grown man, you're about to whoop somebody's ass. So I'm telling you, like, that was the moment. He's flexing as 85,000 Clemson fans are trying to like intimidate you guys. But
we got to do, let's get through the season. We got to do an off-season episode, maybe just on that Clemson game.
That was fun.
Because that's truthfully, we were talking about running back trios. That's probably the last time there was a trio. Because I think you look at, the Dalvin Jacques Patrick pairing, I think was really something. Okay, had a few running mates, but that's the last time I think you felt good about, like really good about that room 3 deep.
Yep. James Wilder, Devontae Freeman, Carlos Williams. Dang.
Even Pender.
Oh yeah, we had Mario
Pender was on the team. Yeah, that's a good
point. My gosh. Yeah, we did. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, amazing. Berto, do you see building blocks that are kind of being laid right now for Norvell here in year 3? Because it feels like this is the first season that's been completely normal, off season all the way into the season.
Yep. Oh yeah, definitely. And speaking with the guys that are there now, close with the specialist room, especially me and Ricky, helping those guys out. And those are the questions I like to ask, right? Yeah, you got good athletes, we're always going to have good athletes, right? I ask the questions of like, are people showing up to, to summer workouts or showing up to voluntary workouts? Is there camaraderie in the locker room, or is there cliques, right? Everyone's separated. And I don't hear none of the cliques, none of the cancers on the team, none of that. I hear positivity. I hear, the guys are getting along. And it shows on the field. And I think a big difference too is Jordan Travis being the starting quarterback and knowing like that's his team, right? Because there's an advantage when like, oh yeah, we're going to split time, we're going to have one guy and then we might bring in this guy. But really, I think that hurts a team because there's no real one guy that, that's his team, right? One guy's like, all right, well, he's going to start and then I'm just going to come in. So like, whatever, I'm not, you know what I mean? Then the other guy's like, well, I'm going to play for a little bit. And then the other guy's going to come in. So who is really the leader of the offense? Personally, for me, I think if you have one quarterback, that's your leader. He has full reins of the team. He's devoted. He knows he's the starter. He's going to work that much harder. And I think it shows. I mean, I think Travis is going to have a great year if he keeps doing what he's doing. And the things that help him are, a good O-line, a good running. Everyone helps out each other. It makes their life easier. Like you were saying, like some of the wide receivers making some great catches. Like if you're Jordan Travis, you're like, wow, you got me a completion there. That wasn't a good throw by my part, but you helped me out, right? So stuff like that'll end up, those are the little building blocks that you don't, regular fans don't really see, right? You see the score at the end of the game, but what are the little pieces that are going to help, build that foundation and build that what we had, back in 2013 where we know we can be.
Yeah, and I like that you mentioned Jordan Travis and the quarterback room. So, Curt, like starting with you, and then we'll go back to Berto. What did you think of Jordan Travis's first game of the season? He looked more confident and control, in my opinion. So, Curt, what you got?
I mean, I think that's exactly it. I think he was confident. I think he was comfortable. I think he is out to show that how well-rounded a quarterback he is, kind of build off what he did last year. And I think that's exactly what he did. I mean, he only threw 15 passes, I think completed 11 of them, but for over 200 yards. And I mean, kind of spread it around, hit everybody. I thought was he was almost a non-factor in the run game. He only had 4 carries for 11 yards. So, I mean, I think he kind of wanted to show like, hey, that doesn't have to be a part of my game. I think the play he had rolling out to the near sideline where he waited and hit Micah Pittman on the opening drive was really impressive. I think the throw to Johnny Wilson, he's always thrown a pretty deep ball. And that's I think as he's gotten the accuracy there, that's been nice. And even I think maybe his best throw of the night was that throw to Kentron Petier to set up. I think it was one of the field goals late in the first half where he kind of threw it up and Kentron had to go get it. But no, I think I do think that for somebody who kind of has admitted the self-doubt he kind of went through early in his time here, just with how he was used and not used, and maybe some struggles he was dealing with in practice, I think a full off season of being the guy has helped him remarkably.
Definitely.
I mean, I feel like when you talked about building blocks, I feel like there's a real chance for a building block here this weekend. I mean, I think we can maybe transition that. I think it's funny, Ariya, I was talking to you yesterday on some of the sidelines, and I asked you, I didn't put 2 and 2 together on this. What this would be like FSU's biggest win, like on a national scale sense. And you said Ole Miss 2016, which was your brother's first game.
Yeah. I remember that.
He was game. He was pumping ice in his veins, man. He was hitting field goals, throwing injections into himself. I was like, look at this guy.
What was he, 6 for 6, I think?
He broke an FSU record. He broke an FSU record, most field goals in a game. His first game, he had 6.
Yeah, how proud were you as a brother watching that? You're just that's my little boy right there.
That's my little bro. I was on the sidelines for that game too. So that was a good time to see that, in Orlando. That was fun. And if we win this game on Sunday, I mean, and the thing is, watching that game we played. Yeah, it's funny. The people that I was watching the game with, and the majority of people, I don't even know where Duke came. I don't even know where Duke. Majority of people didn't even know how to pronounce the name, and I don't even know Duquesne. Duquesne. Like I heard some people saying Duquesne, and I'm like $100. You know where that school is at, and like no one could guess it. But hey, it doesn't matter. Opponent has no face, like Coach Fisher used to say. So it doesn't matter, we're playing them or we're playing, LSU, we're playing against ourselves, right? Alignment, assignment, technique, make sure we're in the right place at the right time, not having any dumb penalties. That's how we're going to beat an LSU, right? We want to play penalty free, mistake free, making the right reads. And at the end of the day, if they beat us outright, because they're just athletes, well, they beat us. Oh, well, we did everything we could, but we don't want to go in there and, we're holding, we're, hitting people late out of bounds, and that's what you saw last year where we could have definitely won more games, but you don't see those penalties add up, field position. That hurts. And you can't have that when you're playing, an LSU, Miami, Florida. But I think, watching the game this past weekend, we, for the most part, we didn't have that many penalties. We played a pretty clean game. And if we can keep 5 penalties, there you go.
And one of them was that late hit on that first drive by Jerry and Jones. And after that, there really weren't any that you look at as like huge discipline. The penalties you can't have. Some of them were a hold or a pass interference that I think was pretty questionable. Yeah. So, you're going to have your holds, but it can't be, we had, 12 penalties for 150 yards. Like we don't want that, right? 5 is fine. But I remember seeing that late hit early in the first quarter, and I was like, oh man, like here we go again. Like if we're going to keep doing this dumb stuff, like we're not going to be able to win games. Right. But you saw Norvell rip him a new one on the sideline, which was good. I mean, shoot, when Coach Fisher was here, he'd be like, get on the bench. Like he would say a lot of things where you're like, geez, like, if that was me, I'm not doing that again. But yeah, you saw that he went out there, he didn't do it again. It's okay. Right. That's what these games are for, where it's like, hey man, like he stepped out, like don't hit him when he goes outside out of bounds. So those are the things that I look at. And, after that, we didn't see those types of penalties. So, which is good. So. Well, and that was an area where they really improved down the stretch of last season. Early last year, those penalties were still happening. I think they had like a few 100-yard penalty games in a row, and you're just kind of like, I can only imagine how hard it is to win that way. So yeah, that improved dramatically really down the stretch of the season, and I think it's carried over. Like you said, I mean that is the thing. I think how careful, I mean, taking care of the ball, the offense is a big deal. I think, the opponent plays a role in this, sure, but Duquesne was 1 of 10 on third down. They got off the field. That's something that's been a problem, even against like a Jacksonville State or a team like that, kind of over the last few years. You're seeing the signs. Obviously, the degree of difficulty is going to ramp up pretty significantly. I think we're about to find out exactly how much improved that offensive line is, because LSU's defensive line is legit. They got some gumbo fed Louisiana boys on the benches there.
Yeah. Those boys are going to be tough up front. That's what arguably them or Clemson is going to be the best. NC State. Yeah, NC State's is very good too. So that's upper echelon of the D line you're going to face. And, like they got Smith in the middle there and Ojolari at D end. And they've got some guys who've had production. And so I think for Brian Kelly, right, like offense is going to be more of a work in progress, probably with a new head coach and a new system than defense is if you got returners. But Roberto, do you think, where do you think LSU presents the most matchup problems? To be honest, they're LSU, but they were 6-7 last year. Coming in with a new coach. It's interesting to see. I mean, you saw that the guy who was going to be the starting quarterback, he retired because and took all that NIL money with him.
Yeah, I know. So, I've heard mixed reviews. Of what, Brian Kelly's bringing down there. Obviously, he did what he did at Notre Dame, but also, they weren't in a conference. So, who did they really play? So, but, whatever. What he did there was great. And he had a good team but SEC football is different. To be honest, I think we match up very well in all phases on the field. I mean, there's no real position group where I think they're light years ahead of us or they're going to win, in that group. I think if we play, the way we play, right, and focus on what we got to do, we can match up with them, neck and neck. I think, okay, well, one of our guys will get burned, but we'll burn one of their guys too. And it's at the end of the day, it's going to be the team who makes the most mistakes is the one that's going to lose, right? So as long as we play mistake free or have little mistakes and especially in the red zone, we convert. Every possession ends in a kick where we give ourselves the best shot. And if it's a tight game and we, as long as we give ourselves a chance, late in the fourth quarter, that's really all we can ask for, and see how we perform there.
And Curt, when you look at this Florida State offensive line, and they look like they took steps forward, obviously, but that is Duquesne. They presented such a physical mismatch that it might be hard from just this contest to assess how much progress is made by that offensive line and Coach Atkins' group. I feel like going into the LSU game, that O-line, D-line battle between LSU's front four, Florida State's front five, essentially, that could dictate how well FSU is able to perform offensively and if they can dictate the game as a whole.
I think in my opinion, I think it's going to be determined on both sides of the line for sure. I think when you look at that LSU defensive line, we're going to see, is Maurice Smith available? Like he got added to the depth chart as a co-starter today. If he's available, it's a big deal because it lets you be flexible about how you can use Darius Washington, move him around. I think, are they able to give Jordan Travis time? The holes won't be as big for the running backs, but are they big enough that they can work? Say what you will about Florida State's offense the last few years. It's been impressive what they've done in running the ball. That being said, against those best defensive lines, it's been hard. Against the NC States, against the Clemsons, the numbers haven't been as good. Or how much better improved are they in that capacity? I think you look at the other side too. I think LSU has 5 new offensive linemen.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So
they named their starters today.
Yes, they did. And I know they were starting a true freshman left tackle, and I know he's pretty well regarded, but he's still a true freshman left tackle making his first start. If you're putting Jared Verse against him, how is Jared, who's got a game now at FSU under his belt, able to affect? How is that defensive tackle group that's probably the strength of the defense? I think the trenches are going to be what determines this.
Mm-hmm. And that'll be interesting too for Florida State, because you run for 400 yards. It's very easy to get high on any position group and say that they're going to dominate like that all season. But then you're going to face some teams that have the dudes up front to make life miserable. And I think that's where that starts, right? Is in the trenches, and usually with any SEC team, right, Berto? Everything against an SEC, the upper echelon SEC programs that have talent, it begins in the trenches with the offensive and defensive lines.
100%. And those are the guys that set the tone up, right? And I think, especially going into this game, where we are at a disadvantage, because we haven't seen, film of them, with Brian Kelly there, with their athletes. He can look at, our coaches can look at film from Norvell when he was at Notre Dame, but these are SEC guys, right? They're not Notre Dame athletes. So I think early on, that first that first 1 or 2 drives, I think don't be surprised if LSU, is able to move the ball. But it's going to be the way we adapt to the offense they're running, to their starting, to the guy who ends up starting, right? And once we get a feel of like what they're play calling and what they're really throwing at us and how quick we can adapt, maybe in the second quarter after that first drive, even we can adapt quickly. I think where we're going to be able to stop them. And then our offense, if we can start, and this is the thing, right? Start with, a short dump off pass, right? Get Travis in rhythm in the game, get the running back starting, right? Pick up those, 4 or 5, 6 yards on first down, making that second down a little bit easier. Let's not try to force the big ball right away, right? Set a rhythm, set a tone for the game and how you want it to be run. It's not all about like, oh, let's go for the big deep ball. Let's go, it's about setting rhythm, setting a tone. And I think if we can start like that on offense, we'll be set.
Jaden Daniels and Nussmeier kind of battling it out right now. I think a lot of people are expecting it to be Daniels, the transfer from Arizona State. But for me, how this FSU defense is able to speed up their clock, make life miserable for them, make them uncomfortable in a game, I think that can make a big difference as well, because Duquesne wasn't going to really be able to test you, not with the dudes that they have. I think FSU passed the test in its first game defensively, but I am fascinated to see how the secondary can do. against that talented wide receiver group of LSU.
Yeah, the better the defensive line does, the easier things will be for the secondary. I think Adam Fuller talked about today. Amarian Cooper was back at practice. I think he wanted to play Saturday, tried to go. That's a big deal because to me, that is your best cover cornerback. I'm high on the future of guys like Ariya Thomas, of guys like Sam McCall, but I think, if you don't have Amarian, it's entirely possible you have Jerry and Jones starting again. And no offense to Jerry and Jones, but I don't know how well that would go against Kayshon Boutte and the guys in that room, how talented they are, like you said. So, yeah, if Amarian's back, if he is good full go, that could be a big deal. And, yes, how much they're able to affect Daniels and not give him time to sit back there and kind of pick apart the defense.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I read 80% or so of LSU's receiving touchdowns are back, something like that. I believe,
yeah.
I think that's accurate. And then I look at the running backs too, and yeah, they have some new guys there, but John Emery and Noah Cain were big names in the recruiting circles, right? Like Emery was a highly sought after running back. Cain went to Penn State, if I remember correctly. I think Cain might even be a Florida kid from the state of Florida, and he goes to Penn State. But that offense for LSU is going to be different. Brian Kelly's known for being a really good offensive mind. Certainly, Roberto, you saw that firsthand. I can't ever get over the fact that he was complaining that his team had illegally blocked Florida State at the end there with the pick play, and he's still mad at the official. Do you guys remember that? Roberto, he was livid. He was livid at the end of that game.
He called that we hold on. Oh, they got called for a pick play.
Yeah, it erased what would have been the game-winning touchdown.
And yep. I remember that. And I was like, oh, it was on Darby. I remember seeing the Jumbotron, and I'm like, no way. And then we saw the flag. He definitely did pick, and come on, you can't run a play like that because you kind of know what the guy's just like, oh, let me get in the way. It's like, I remember that, but they kept it all the way to the end. I remember that game. It was a close game. They stuck in there, and if it wasn't for that pick play, we would have lost. But he's a good coach, man. You can't take it away from him. And we'll see. He has high expectations. Everyone's expecting him to turn this program around and get it back to, when Burrow was there and those guys. So, he has a lot on his shoulders, and he's going to come out guns blazing. He's going to come out with all it, because damn well he doesn't want to lose his first game. So he's going to be throwing everything out there. So yeah.
What people forget about him, you talked about not wanting to lose his first game. What people forget about that family speech, because of the family, is he said, what was his, and I haven't even won all my games yet. If he makes that promise and loses his first game, what are we doing here?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Go watch the speech. And it's like, I'm so excited to be here and I haven't even won all my games yet, or something ridiculous.
Wow.
He is interesting. He's an interesting dude, but no, it's interesting. The strides FSU, they talked about today in the press conferences, all the stuff they've done to prepare for this. They have familiarity with Brian Kelly from the last 2 years. They have familiarity with their new offensive coordinator because he was at Cincinnati. Norvell's and Fuller's last 2 games at Memphis were against his offense. He was at Cincinnati before now.
Okay.
And then their defensive coordinator most recently was a linebacker coach for the Chiefs. And before that was the defensive coordinator at Kentucky. So they've been watching Cincinnati. They've been watching LSU. They've put the players on the team. They've been watching where all the guys transferred from, watching their tape from where they were before, the guys who transferred in. They talked about it's something that's been in the work for months, just all the scouting that's gone into it. It's crazy.
Those are the takes we like to hear. I like that. Yeah. Those are good, man. Those are. It may not be a Florida level support staff, that ridiculous picture that was on Twitter last week, but Florida State has added to its support staff. And I think that showed up in what they were able to do in this regard this offseason. Oh yeah. 100%. I think the addition of what's his name? I remember watching him when he was a head coach at Miami.
Randy Shannon. Yeah, he's a linebacker coach now. Yeah.
That guy knows his stuff. He's been in the game for a while, and we got veterans on the coaching staff that have seen a lot of things, from different teams for different conferences. So that's always good to have. So, Yeah, man, that's what you like to hear. That's that'll get the Vegas, the sports books going.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. They're a 3-point underdog. That's a talented LSU team, but that to me says, because that's basically a road game. That to me says they kind of view this as a toss up or close to it on a neutral site, because they call this a neutral site, but is it really?
Nope. I mean, how far is New Orleans from?
Here, let me do it.
What is it, Baton Rouge?
For you, it's like less than an hour, I think.
Jeez,
is it an hour and a half?
It's like us driving to Jacksonville.
I think it's less than that. Let's see. An hour, 12 minutes, 81 miles.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, there will be, I know Florida State sold its contingent of tickets. There will be a solid Florida State group there, as there always is, but no, I mean, that place will be very pro LSU, just like it'll be pro FSU next year in Orlando.
Yeah.
I mean, you got your work cut out for you, right? You're going into hostile territory. It's Bourbon Street. Got to keep the guys focused and keep your minds on the task at hand. And, you know, I think this is one of the biggest games for Florida State in a long time. Curt, you kind of let off with it early in the show of it's the biggest game since what? I mean, guys, like Florida State needs this from a national prominence standpoint, right? Like I think winning your ACC games probably more important for the 2022 season. I think the emphasis on beating Louisville and Wake and Boston College, those are just as important. But like, if you want to be taken seriously in the national picture, if you want media to start talking about Florida State again, and they want to be on ESPN for the right reasons, and you want recruits to kind of buy into the Florida State brand and having that swag again, you got to win a game like this. And LSU is not a juggernaut, right, Berto? Like they're fragile right now. This is your chance. And if not now, I'm thinking when, because this program needs this injection of life and what it would do, especially you got a bye week coming up. Imagine FSU fans getting to sit on a win over LSU for 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Like that is huge.
Well, Mike look Burrell's, at it. Go ahead.
Mike Burrell's coaches shows tonight. He promised he would eat a beignet on the air next week if they beat LSU on Sunday.
Oh,
that's what's on the line.
Well, I mean, yeah. So like right now we're in a good position, right? We just showed we're able to play smart football. You know, we're able to go out there, win. We're able to go out there and score, do the right things. That, as a coach, I'm telling my guys, look at it. We did the right things. We did our job. You know, last year we lost to Jacksonville State. You know, we could have went out there. This could have been a 14-7 game, and then all of us are scratching our heads like, what? Like, was Duquesne that good? Like, okay, now I'm kind of worried for LSU. But the way we went out there and played, and then we had our second string quarterback, and then our third string quarterback going out there, and we were still, moving the ball. I think I think we go in there with that confidence that we need. And I think we haven't had that confidence since what? Like, who did we beat last year that was like, okay, we have confidence? Like, when we lost to Jacksonville State, oh my gosh, that whole just deflated. It was tough last year, but
the Miami win was big, but
Miami win was big. Yeah.
But that was also like a 6-6 Miami team. Like the rivalry always means a lot. And I think Florida State fans kind of talked about probably being responsible for getting Manny Diaz fired and getting to laugh about that after Miami kind of got Willie Taggart fired 2 years before. But
your image nationally didn't get the boost beating Miami that year that it would have if it was a top 10 Miami team or anything like that. So you're Sunday night, right? No one else is on. Yeah. FSU's playing Sunday night.
You are prime time.
People are going to be, they've got the day off the next day for Labor Day. Yeah. Everyone's tuned in for this.
If you want to make some noise, that's the time to make it.
Berto, like as a player, like these are the games you like dreamed of playing, right? Like these are the ones you come to Florida State to play.
You want to know how many 12 o'clock games I played when I was at FSU? Probably like 5.
we remember we had to cover you until 2 a.m, staying in the press box. You got to go home, bro. You got to go out. We were
oh my God.
You got to go to like Madso after. Like we had to cover. We had to start writing until 2 a.m. and the bars closed.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I remember how many night games there were. People were complaining
Yeah.
About the media was complaining about how many night games there were because they're like, dang, I'm going to be tired tomorrow too. My wife and my kids are going to hate me tomorrow. You know what's
For
crazy,
real,
you guys?
yeah.
Like, you know how many times we got college game day in Roberto's career?
Oh my gosh.
Like,
that was like a normal occurrence.
it got to a point where I stopped going because I was like, yeah, I know what that's like.
Yeah.
Fans weren't trying to line up at 5 a.m. Now, I guarantee you, if Tally got a college game day this season or next season, people would be lining up in tents to be ready for that, to get a spot for that.
You want to go hypotheticals right now?
Lee Corso needs one more trip here. He doesn't have that much time left. He needs one more trip to the alma mater.
100%.
Think about it. We beat, hypothetical, right? We play well. We beat LSU. We're riding that train. We have a week. We have 10 days off to prepare for Louisville. Beat Louisville. We're 3-0. Who do we have after Louisville? Probably ranked. Who do we have after Louisville?
Boston College.
We go in there, or no, they come to us. Yeah,
here it's Boston College home, Wake Forest home,
and Wake might not have their quarterback. Like you have a shot here to do something
to be 5-0.
Because then it gets tough, right? Like that schedule gets real tough, real fast.
NC State's tough,
and then Clemson,
and that's back to back, isn't it?
Yeah,
NC State, Clemson's back to back. Wow.
But all this to say, because we probably should say in the moment a little more.
Yeah.
That can't happen if you don't win Sunday.
Exactly.
It's got to start Sunday. I mean,
we can look back at this show and be like, oh my gosh, what were we talking about?
Well, that's the beauty of having this show. Roberto, welcome to the media side of things where your takes are going to be scrutinized for the rest. You know, you probably in the locker room used to trash media members like, bro, those guys know nothing. And now you've joined us. How have the tables turned, my guy?
Man.
Welcome to the dark side.
Oh, man.
Let me ask you this final question, and then we'll wrap up because we're kind of the 50-minute mark here. How hard do you think it will be, and what do you think will be the keys to managing your emotions in practice leading up to the week, and also when you're in that locker room getting ready to run out into the stadium where the Saints play and you know that you're about to play LSU? Because that's going to be important too.
I mean, dude, that's a good question. And a lot of these guys probably haven't felt this big of a game. I mean, last year, what was the biggest game where we were on prime time? You guys remember?
It may have been the season. It may have been Notre Dame. That was the same thing on Sunday night.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so Notre Dame.
Night.
Okay. So since a year ago, you could say most of the guys have seen, what prime time feels like. But at home, now we're going to be in a neutral site and basically almost an away site. But as a coach, you're prepping these guys for this. Like, hey, it's going to be loud. I know they have. I mean, you're there. You guys are there. I know they have the loud speakers out there at practice, getting those guys ready. And I think as a coach, you say enjoy the moment, live the moment. But once we step on that field and once that whistle's blown, it's time to lock in and do your job. So that's why I say, like in the beginning, it's going to be getting that rhythm with Travis and the O-line, right? Getting a rhythm, running, making a couple little short passes to settle the adrenaline, to calm the guys down. Making sure they don't jump, they don't false start, right? Because it's too loud, right? Getting those emotions a little bit lower because they're going to be excited, right? And if we can do that early on and not let that linger on into the, late first quarter or the second quarter, and if we can manage that and really adapt to the situation, adapt to the surroundings, I mean, we're there to play.
It's big, guys. 7:30 Eastern time. Is it on ABC or ESPN, Curt?
I think it's ESPN. Don't quote me on that. I can pull it up real quick.
Let's go.
I'll keep promoting the game.
Don't rely on our podcast for your broadcast.
This is where the broadcast guys, they tell you to keep padding. Buy me some time. Florida State and LSU. That's going to be a big matchup, and the Noles have an opportunity to, I think, make the statement that this program has needed for quite some time. And programs change as coaches come and go. So this is the biggest game of the Norvell, I think, for Mike Norvell's tenure so far. Is against LSU. Kurt's looking at me right now, so I think he's got an answer.
It's ESPN.
Okay, it is ESPN.
ESPN.
All that pad for him to be like ESPN. You can Google it. You can look it up. It'll be on the Osceola message boards. But guys, this was a pleasure. Roberto, welcome to the team. Welcome to the Osceola. And we look forward to your insights each and every week. Big game, right? Big game. I want a prediction from you right before you go.
Ooh, all right. Prediction.
You can follow your heart here. It's okay.
Honestly, I haven't even looked at the projected, what other people are saying. I would say, I honestly would bet the over. It's 51. I'd bet the over. I would say probably 30. 31, 30, 27.
30 Noles or Tigers?
Noles.
Following your heart. Curt, what you got?
Ryan Fitzgerald.
I don't get a few more days to think about this.
You can change yours. You're going to be asked this question.
We did this last week. I picked FSU to win this game. I'm sticking to it. I think that game, who cares? I don't care who the opponent was. I think getting to play that game, the confidence that comes from that, the getting those first game jitters out, the just getting to play a game and all that, I think makes a difference.
Yeah, I got Florida State too. I think it'll be 31-24 in that ballpark. And I think
I like
Florida
that score
State finds a way. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. And I agree with you guys. I think this Florida State's been waiting for a moment and an opportunity to kind of make a statement. And I'm not saying that takes us to a 10-win team or makes us undefeated or anything like that. I think it's the first time, though, from a national perspective, people will look at that and go, all right, maybe it's time to stop clowning the Noles. We'll start to respect them a little bit. And so I got the Noles on this one. But all right, boys, we will reconvene next week. These are released on Tuesdays on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Google Pods. And make sure you give us 5 stars. Please share this with your friends. We're excited to be able to do this as Florida State takes on LSU this weekend coming up in New Orleans. For Roberto Aguayo, Curt Weiler, I'm Ariya Massoudi, and this has been First and Nole.